Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the battlefield analysis for the situation over in the Bakhmut front. This is Bakhmut and off Bakhmut we have this very important town called CHASIV YAR. So the Russian Defense Ministry has just announced today, the full capture of CHASIV YAR, and this happened after geolocation of Russian forces was noted. They have raised the flag all over Shevchenko district and as well as the Yuzhny district. So this is covered in the latest frontline changes report that the Russian forces have captured all of these locations. And this capture is very important because the entire south of CHASIV YAR would be entirely lost to the Russian forces. And this resulted in this salient over in CHASIV YAR because of this capture over at Shevchenko. This Russian force capture at Shevchenko. The Ukrainians can no longer hold the edge of the center of CHASIV YAR. If they are even there at all, they would not be able to hold this because the Russian forces would have pincered them and encircle the entire Ukrainian forces that is currently over in CHASIV YAR. And I believe that due to this developing situation of the Russian forces of flanking the south of the Ukrainian position in CHASIV YAR, and also because the Russians have already a firm control over on the western part of CHASIV YAR, over in the what is this point called Pivnishne district. So this is another district. This is another district. They have a lot of districts. The Ukrainian forces have no way, no options but to withdraw out of this pocket. If not, they're going to get encircled. And with this withdrawal, the Russian forces most likely have overrun the center of CHASIV YAR, which heavy battles have been ongoing for a long time. And I believe that the latest front line most likely is like this, with the Russian forces taking over the entire open forest region between these two built up region. So you can see this is just all forest. This is just all forest, and the Ukrainian forces have previously used the forest and penetrate into this this center of CHASIV YAR and conduct this never-ending battle of CHASIV YAR. So with this situation, you can see that the most likely front line right now is over here. This is most likely the straightened front line at this moment. Although I don't think the Russians have fully secure all the forests yet, because who knows, forests have a lot of booby traps, and but definitely they have at least secure this part, the at least this area here, this build up zone. This is most likely captured by the Russian forces, which leads to the Russian Defense Ministry's announcement of the capture of CHASIV YAR. So what we want to do right now is to look at what's next for this region here. In the grand strategic view, you can see that there is Konstantinivka over on the west of CHASIV YAR. And this is a very big city. This city is actually bigger than Bakhmut. So this is definitely a formidable city for the Russians to try to take over. And which means that I don't think the Russians are going to just bash into this big city in a frontal attack like what they have done to New York or Thorax, because that was due to maybe strategic decisions from the Ukrainian side to reduce manpower, and created a loophole that the Russians just bashed through. And of course, there was tunnel warfare related to the Battle of New York and Thorax. So that's something. But I think Konstantinivka is a much bigger game, and you can see how this thing here have been slowly being enveloped by the Russian forces. So but very slow, because the front line is still pretty far away. We're talking about it's still like 6-7 kilometers. It's still pretty far away. So Yeah, so it's definitely not so soon. So that's why we need to look at what's next. So we look from this perspective, from the Russian position. Also, when the command, they look at the map, they probably will go and draw it like this. And it's going to be disorientating because if you draw it like this, I mean, we can do this as well, maybe just slightly. So based on our current belief, most likely the Russians have settled this. And then the front line look like this. There's a good chance that the Ukrainians still have some positions around here, holding out as Tuposhki. The Russians have the line in the south of Tuposhki. And yeah, so that lines probably look like this. Ukrainian forces have multiple fortifications in this region here. They most likely will defend these positions based on these fortifications, because why not? Don't waste it. They will be at these positions, and they currently will be at Mykolaiv and also Chevrolet and some forests here. And yeah, currently this would probably be the disposition of the Ukrainian forces. And by the look of it, the first thing for the Russians to overcome is probably Stupovsky and Mykolaiv. So we are expecting direct attacks into these two regions to fully capture this, and I think then the Russians will slowly take over this fortification, which will be seen as one thing on its own, this one formation, and then from the other side, the Russian forces will likely go down the build-up regions. So we can zoom in from this area here. You can see it's not it's still pretty difficult. There's quite a lot of place to go. Ukrainian forces can be hiding it all over the place due to the amount of forest buildings. So unless the Ukrainians do not defend, currently the Russian lines is here. Unless they do not defend and they just abandon the position, I think the path forward is still going to be pretty tough. This doesn't change the situation at CHASIV YAR. Like I said, it is a very difficult front line, and if you zoom in, you can see how hilly this region here is. Just not an easy place to fight. So do we have like a place to drop in? No. Yeah, we have one place we can drop in here to take a look at how the environment look like. So this is just one building. The next building is super far away. There's some monuments to some heroes, probably World War II hero. And you can see the Russian forces, Russian troops, if they were to capture this place, the Mykolaiv, would have to go building by building very slowly, and each building is just another trap, all very far away. So, and you can just imagine the number of places that ambushes can be plotted, and you can see hilly hills far away, which allows vantage point for scouting and surveillance and reconnaissance. So so you can see from it's just it's just a bit difficult. I would imagine, although not as difficult as the places around here. This is like just horrible place to fight. But yeah, so that's the situation that we are looking at over in this sector. There is still a lot of fortifications, and I think the final point for the Russians is probably the final line might be around here. 3 line fortifications. Yeah, probably, and Stinky. They will probably want Stinky. Novodimitrovka a bit too near. They probably might try to take it towards the point where they start to squeeze the Ukrainian forces out of Konstantinivka. But less important, I think this is going to be the final line that the Russians is going to go for. And if this is the case, it's still it's still a bit of a distance to go. So this is probably at least 4 kilometers. So a lot of grounds to still cover. So this battle, despite the hurrah of the capital of CHASIV YAR, it's not the end. It doesn't. The strategic situation didn't change at all. Didn't change at all. The same is still the same thing. It's just that CHASIV YAR itself is taken, but the rest of the battle remains exactly the same. tactically there's no change, strategically there's no change. So it's still largely the same situation. And the grand plan, as mentioned, is to for the Russians to create a wall here, like this. This is the final aim, the final line where the Russians is going to go for, most likely, to force the Ukrainians to retreat out of the city to avoid a potential encirclement. So that will avoid destroying the whole city through fighting like what happened in Bakhmut, because Bakhmut is a very ill-fated battle. The Wagner private military contractors just use a very terrible way of fighting. They use prisoner soldiers as cannon foders to send them out, draw fire, and then they destroy where the firing points are. And that's just a horrible way to use people, even if they are convicts, because but that's the Wagner thing, which is why Wagner private military contractor have this fallout with the Russian Defense Ministry, because it's just incompatible with how Russian doctrines work. And so that's the main gist of the situation. And another of the major news regarding the Bakhmut front is this: Ukrainian have admitted that the entire canal, you can see this is this canal, the entire canal, the eastern bank of the canal, is all lost to the Russian forces. And they have done this very big mapping. This, by the way, Klishevka is here. So this is, so the Russian forces have taken all of these areas here. Yeah. So let me draw. Yeah. So all of these lines here are taken by the Russian forces. Go away the label. Yeah. So all of this is taken by the Russian forces, and this established a front line nicely along the canal. And the Ukrainians have the other side of the canal. So tentatively, no indication that the Ukrainians is going to give up the canal yet, due to the strategic situation still allows them to hold a position. But if you look at the strategic situation here, it's not going to be too long before the Russian forces force another impossible salient on the Ukrainians. So from Stupovsky, they can actually hit Priteshne, which is a vital objective for the Russians, to put the pressure on Konstantinivka. And then from this position, they can actually hit southward, capturing all of these fortifications along with the Russian forces coming from Bilakhora. So in the pincer movement. And this will create a massive pocket or encirclement in this canal region, all the way leading to Konstantinivka. Of course, most likely it's not going to encircle the Ukrainian forces. Most likely what will happen is that the lines start to close and probably looks something like this, and then it start to create an impossible salient around this area here. And then the Ukrainians, before this thing happened, they will start to withdraw out of this area here. This is probably what will happen towards Konstantinivka, which is over in that direction. So they will probably retreat into Konstantinivka and establish the next line of defense to prevent to just attrition the Russian forces further. So this is likely what I think is probably going to happen. It will still take some time, I think, depending on the Ukrainian manpower situation, whether there's a will to fight. This could take months. But if the situation really collapses, like some of the front line, like in the Koma front, in the Pokrov northern flank, then this may just happen within a month. Not within a week though, but within a month. That is a possibility. So situation is really dire for the Ukrainian forces. But anyway, this is the update from the Bakhmut front. This is the battlefield analysis. So the Frontline Changes report is published on the DPA's main channel on Defense Politics Asia, and this is the DPA War channel. Subscribe as well, because this gives me more airtime to cover more stuff. And so thank you for watching. Do let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, and then if you realize the icons are gone, but the icons is actually still around. It's here. But yeah, based on feedback from you guys, you know, at least 2 of you have asked, you know, whether, you know, all these fighting icons, you know, reporting icons, can it be hidden? And I've decided to do this extra work to separate the layers between the map and the reporting. So there is 2 layers just to cover, you know. Yeah, you can see this is, yeah, because once I put in all the fighting, all the reporting, it is unusable. So the Google Earth has become unusable. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. Happy birthday to you if your birthday today. And of course, support me if you like to support my work. Definitely, you know, you should consider becoming a Patreon member, which is my preference. And I'll see you guys in the next update.